Hello and welcome back to the Airshow Lounge podcast. This is the 13th episode of podcast. Today's episode we are going to discuss Sywell Airshow and what happened there. And again, as the usual theme of over the last couple of weeks, is we're discussing everything that has turned up at RIAT and probably watching Jack get very hyper again over some more F-15s. My name is Dan, and joining me today is Jack.
Matt.
And Alex, good to be back.
Well, yeah, we're back. We're on a sort of consistent schedule again, and there's four of us. It's not the two of us. It's great. We've got some bouncing off of each other to do in today's episode. We're going to change things up from usual. Instead of doing RIAT first, we're going to go to the most recent airshow that's been and gone on, which was Sywell, very anticipated airshow in a lot of people's calendar this year. And we have two people that have gone, which is Alex and Matt. Guys, how did you find the airshow?
Brilliant. I think, yeah, there's no other way to say it. I think the one headline, if I can sort of put out there first, is it was definitely an air show designed for aviation enthusiasts by aviation enthusiasts. It was brilliant. It was really good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Matt has definitely a lot more experience at Sywell than me. I think you went on both days, right? I remember you mentioning.
Yes.
So you definitely got the full experience of it. I was there just on the Sunday, but in itself, what a fantastic experience. Very well run. First of all, foremost, like organization wise, there was a few little blips, but that was just really for the queuing part of it. That's not really a big deal. It was their first time doing this in a long time, so got to give them a hand. But otherwise, it went pretty flawlessly in my eyes. And what a lineup! And not only that, probably something I didn't expect. But when I looked at the flying list, I was like, cool, we're going to see each of these aircraft individually. Oh no, they actually flew a lot of them together, and it was really non-stop. I mean, Matt, you probably know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I think it's just incredible. Like Alex says, you're looking at the flying list and you see Spitfire. I think brilliant, and then suddenly 9 of them start up right in front of you, and then they'll take off and do a series of wondrous passes. And then I think probably my highlight of both days, and I'm happy that the first day I just watched it so I could then take some pictures. The second day was, I think it must have been a good 3 or 4 minute long tail chase of 9 Spitfires just drawing massive like figure of eights in the sky. It was, and they were close and low as well. And I think that's the other thing, they really made use of the display line. There weren't really many aircraft that felt like they were too far away. They all seemed quite nice and sort of intimate, quite like Shuttleworth, if that makes sense.
Was the display line at Sywell, was it a flat or was it curved?
So I think in the end it was a flat display line, but they had sections sort of like away from the crowd line and behind the crowd line that they could use. So quite a few of them ended up sort of making it a curved display line, if you want, because they could come in on a top side over the flat display line, but it wasn't a true curved one, I don't think.
Because what was Spotter's corner was up on one of those sort of curved sides in a sense, wasn't it? It was up on one of the ends of the airfield where the light sort of went on top of the aircraft the best. I mean, what was lighting like? That's a good thing for photographers. What was lighting like at the sort of thing? Was it the sun behind you? Was it a bit 50-50 depending on morning, afternoon?
I think,
sorry.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I want to say was actually we ended up sort of having a very similar view because you were probably about 25, 30 meters or so in front of me.
Without knowing,
so, without even knowing. So, but no, in the morning it was sort of, obviously the display didn't start until 1:30 or so on the Sunday, and about 1:00 for the Saturday, and it was pretty much like directly behind us. And then sort of mid-afternoon it was getting a bit backlighted, but nothing like the sun directly in front of you. You still had some nice topside colour.
Was there anything in terms of like the aircraft positioning that were on the ground? Was there anything that was hampering the displays, or was everything at a reasonable height where you weren't getting too much of what was in front of you?
Well, for me, I got to say that the runway is a bit further away. So if you're going to Sywell, just keep that in mind. They did have all the aircraft lined up on the flight line there, which, by the way, I think was an absolutely fantastic addition for them to add to be able to walk the flight line for an extra £5 and see all of the aircraft they had there, static and flying, that were based at Sywell for the weekend. That you could just go up to them and walk around them fully, like back and front, and get pictures of them, including the flying balls. But yeah, where they were lined up along the airfield there, you didn't see the runway as well unless you're at kind of either extreme end of the airfield. But I don't feel like that hampered the display in any way, and neither did the fact that when they taxied out, yeah, they taxied right ahead of you, and I didn't really get many good taxi opportunity shots because I had people in front of me. I wasn't on the front row. And they don't allow for ladders and steps like that, which is completely fair. But I really don't feel like that took away at all from the experience I had. In fact, there was many times where I put the camera down and was just enjoying the pure sound of these warbirds flying around, which it very much felt like an active airbase, back in the day. Just the amount of startups and flying and taxiing all happening at the same time. It really was non-stop. So I don't feel like it really took away from the experience. Some people obviously would have a certain shot in mind that they want to try and capture. For me, it was more about like the top size and catching some pretty glorious aircraft that we don't see often flying around our UK airspace. But maybe Matt, you have a different opinion on that.
No, I was going to say very similar. The aircraft were high enough to go above anything on the ground, but yeah, you could still get. I mean, again, I was quite far back, so I just watched the aircraft taxi out, and it was just really nice just to see everybody waving at the pilots and the pilots waving back, and that lovely sort of engagement that you get with a warbird pilot hanging out the side of his Spitfire, waving at all the kids on the parents' shoulders. I think one thing as well to add actually is it was nice that each day had something a little bit different. So obviously going both days, on the Saturday we had, I think, probably arguably one of the best opening flypasts for an airshow I've ever seen. F-35A from the 495th Fighter Squadron, flanked by P-51 and the P-47, which again did a series of passes before the F-35 broke away from the sort of the two warbirds, did his own sort of fast pass into a low approach, and then departed full afterburner straight into the clouds. Saturday also had the sort of evening display. This was quite nice because a lot of people sort of left after the 9 Spitfires had done their display, and there was like an hour break before a few other little displays, and it just meant the crowd line sort of thinned out a little bit more, and there's a little bit of golden light around, which really reflected nicely off of some of the sort of Spitfire and the Mustang that displayed on that evening as well.
I think just from what I've seen, from videos wise, it just seemed a really well organized show, and that everything was thought out. It wasn't just like, oh, we'll chuck this here and we'll chuck this that. I mean, they got what, 3 Corsairs flying at the same time. Like all the Red Bull stuff was flying at the same time. It just, I don't. It just seemed so well organized and put together within mind of what people would actually be wanting and seeing, almost like they'd sort of set up their own forum and gone, right, what do the people in the forums want to see? Oh, they want to see all 3 Corsairs fly together. Oh, we want a 9 Spitfire tail chase. It sounded like they were like, yes, these are the things we got in mind, and we ticked them off. It almost like they had them to start with and then got the aircraft to tick those ideas.
To me, it's like I echo what you say. Like, you've got an air show that a group of people have decided to put together, but instead of them going, we're going to run it this way and this way only, how can we get the best out of it? And the interaction that they've had with the general public, enthusiasts and stuff like that, I think, like we've all said from the start of the year, we think it's the air show of the year, and I still think now the fact that we're still talking about it, and all of the reviews that obviously we've heard from Alex and Matt, but also from the community, just speaks volumes as to how an air show kind of needs to be run for those that are passionate about aviation.
I
Yeah,
think
and
it was
also,
just,
go on, Matt.
I'll say it was the little things too that you wouldn't necessarily, not quite say make the connection, but it just made the day a bit nicer. Like any of the stalls that were there were pretty much all aviation related. You know, you could easily wander around and have a look in every single stall and not go, oh, why is that here? You know, they had a few of the patch stalls, some nice clothing stalls, and obviously had the C-47, the Placid Lassie. That was sort of the main central
Mm,
static display, which again you could go inside if you wanted to. They had some merch as well. I think one of the really nice little touches they had was they had one inside one of the blister hangars was the bar, and inside the hangar they'd parked, I can't remember the number which one it is now, but it's one of the ME 109 Bouchons and one of the
mm.
Spitfires flanking a big projector screen which was playing the Battle of Britain film, of which both those aircraft starred in.
Yep,
That's cool.
And it's just
it's cool.
it's the little things that they just didn't have to add, but they did, and it made a lot of sense.
I tell you what, I could not get my dad out of that hangar bar. As soon as he saw they were playing the Battle of Britain, he absolutely loves that movie. He's probably seen it about 100 times, and he was just like, "Wow, this is the actual aircraft and stuff." I was like, "The flying display's starting soon. We need to we need to leave. We can watch the movie at home. Come on, it's So, but no, really, it was really great, and it seemed like it was really very well attended by ages of a number of people, from oldies to younger people and families and all sorts. And I didn't hear anybody having a grumble, and everyone was just having a great time. People had picnics out, people were just enjoying the sun. The weather was really nice for it, and like Matt was saying, there was a great range of things to see as well. You had the museum there, you had the classic cars out, you had the flight line walk, and you had some stalls which included some official stuff from the RAF, and for us patch guys, Runway 25 were there, and a few others as well. So no, really well thought out, and honestly, it's probably the most relaxed, kind of stress-free air show I've ever been to, where I've just felt like I could actually just enjoy the day rather than worrying about getting a good shot or whatever like this. I'm just like, this is nice. This is really, really nice. A bit of history and some great aviation flying.
I think a big
With
shout out has to go to. Sorry, I think a shout out has to go to the commentary team as well. There was on the Saturday we had Mike Ling, obviously ex Red
Mm,
Arrow, ex
yeah.
Blade pilot, and obviously he flies some of the Warbirds for Ultimate Warbirds out of Sywell. And also on the Saturday we had James Holland, the historian. So that was really nice. They sort of bounced off each other really nicely.
Yeah,
You had James Holland giving his historical pieces and his background on the intricacies of the history of the aircraft and how they were used. And then you've got Mike Ling, who's been flying them during the week and sort of gives that real insight into actually how those aircraft are to fly and what the pilots will be doing at this stage of the display, why they haven't landed immediately because they have to go and cool the engines down. And then I think the Sunday was Mike Ling predominantly on his own, but then he had some guest appearances. So I think he had Richard Grace came in at one point and sort of spent about 25 minutes, half an hour in the commentary booth with him. And again, it was brilliant just to get that sort of look on the air show from not just the person who's designed it and put it all together, but also somebody who works on those aircraft probably 7 days a week, lives and breathes warbirds. And it was just they really helped to flow. And the nice thing was they sort of knew when to be quiet, if that makes sense. Like when you had the 9 Spitfires running in, they just put the microphones down and let the engines do the talking and tried their best not to talk over any of those wonderful Warbird engines.
So we'll sort of bring this little segment to a close, but I want to get final things on it. Matt and Alex, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think while I talk now. But can you just very quickly think about what was your highlight act, top thing that you'd pick out as the best thing that you saw, and I'll come back to you. I'd just like to say, Sywell, from what I've seen from an outsider and someone that didn't go, was the fact that even with really last minute cancellations of some big things that they announced early in the time, they'd done such a good job, and it is just so nice to see that an air show can lose things that are quite big and then still have probably one of the best rated air shows I've seen in a while on the airshow circuit. And whether or not it's something we see come back next year, I mean, with the success they've had, maybe. But yeah, so I'll start with you, Mike. Go on. What was your highlight top item?
I can't go for just one, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I've managed to get it down to three.
Okay.
I've gone firstly for the F-35, P-47, P-51 fly
Yeah.
past on the Saturday, just because nobody really knew it was coming until a few days beforehand, and
Yes.
to pull it out at, I assume they've probably known for a while, but for us looking on at quite short notice, and it's so expertly flown, I think that's got to be up there. One we didn't really mention on here in part of the review, but the wing walker. I'm sure Alex can attest to this. Seeing somebody hang by her feet from the leading edge of a biplane whilst her husband flying it does, like, you know, stall turns and loop the loops while she's hanging from various bits of the wing, I think is up there with something that my jaw just dropped the first time I saw it. I think finally for me, it's got to be the 9 Spitfires. Seeing that many in the air in such relatively quite close formation, flying to the sky and then ending with that tail chase was just, it just rounded off the day incredibly nicely. And I say, just bring on Sywell 2025.
Go on, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, my number one spot has definitely got to go to the Red Arrows. No, I mean, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. No, but no. Obviously, there's quite a few more there that we definitely were spoiled for what we had there for sure. And I also have multiple. The Wing Walker, first of all, insane. Never seen it. You think there's just another wing walking act? I've never seen anything like that before. Absolutely incredible. I think it was Danielle and her pilot Emiliano who were working that all the way from Europe. I don't remember where. Was it in Switzerland? I think
so.
Yeah. Absolutely impressive display. Really impressive. But yeah, solid favorites for me. Definitely the P-47. Whoever was piloting that was really flying her very aggressively and very low, which we like. Keep doing that. It was such an awesome display. The flying balls, of course, a star act. I absolutely love the P-38. Such a unique aircraft. And I believe it's the only one in Europe. And these aircraft that the flying balls brought to Sywell, we got to see them up close in immaculate condition. They keep them pristine, and they're just such good looking aircraft. But yeah, definitely got to hand it off to that Spitfire display. And also a big shout out to the 727 from 2XL, who also believe they have some of their offices at Sywell. But the 727, again, another very unique aircraft. And even though it was just a fly past, that's something special they didn't see everywhere, do you? So yeah, really fantastic.
Also, hats off to the crew to that 727 fly past on the Saturday, where it was too close even for 100 mil on my camera. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, that, I think probably that section of just everyone praising Sywell is the general consensus from everything across. And hopefully we see the same sort of thing with this year's RIAT, with some more of the stuff that they're pulling. That's a shameless segue. Yeah, I'll let Jack start off because he's going to want to talk about this.
Yeah, okay.
I knew it was coming. You've got to start. Let him get his excitement out. So we've had 2 weeks, and somehow this year, RIAT keep pulling out every single week something that's in the update that's like, wow. And this week again was no exception. The very timely rumored Saudi Hawks that have been rumored for about, it must be 6 months, 5-6 months now, finally did confirm. And the Saudis are bringing with them an F-15SA, which, as you can imagine, Jack is very excited about.
I think RIAT organisers have finally got my letter of disapproval.
What's this about the anniversary for the F-15? Was
so,
it?
Me and my history, little history story. Obviously, the F-15 is arguably the world's greatest air superiority fighter. Staggering 104-0 in combat. And a couple of years ago they turned 50, just like the F-16s are turning 50 this year. And I felt that they didn't really do much. I get that it's not, the F-15 isn't operated as much by other countries, unlike the F-16. However, and obviously with the withdrawal of them from combat and service, obviously the numbers become fewer and fewer. But I think they're doing a bit of justice now, because you've got the EX, you've got the SA, you've got the Qatari. I'm hoping we might get some F-15s from Lakenheath. Obviously nothing's been confirmed yet from them.
4th of July this week.
It is, so there's it would be a very nice
It'd be a
addition.
timely update.
Yeah.
But I think I just think that they're doing a bit of justice for the F-15 by bringing them in now from multiple places.
I'm going to be devil's advocate here and be quite annoying and say I didn't actually want them to bring an F-15 from Saudi. I thought it'd be much more timely for them to bring one of their Tornadoes for the last 3 serving Tornado operators to have turned up at RIAT for this year.
We want F-15s.
Because we have Italy and Germany, and the only other operator currently is Saudi Arabia, and it is also the Tornado's anniversary this year as well. Lots of anniversaries popping up around. But no, in all seriousness, the F-15SA is a really cool addition. And they're also bringing with them an A330 MRTT refueling aircraft. So another good things. Another thing for the flying display, only on the Friday. So for you Friday goers, the RF Falcons will be jumping. Not out of the A400 though, like they're doing most of the season. They are jumping out the back of a C-17, which will be delayed to join on static for the RAF contingent. That's cool.
That's very cool. So obviously most of the time C-17 parachute jumps are done at high altitude and away from the public eye. So for them to be doing it at an air show out of a C-17 would be quite nice. And it's always something nice to see them jumping out of a variety of different airframes.
Is that the 4th C-17 now?
That would make it number 5. Well, once I tell you all the US contingent that was announced this last week, because holy moly! But we'll get onto that. We've got new additions from the Irish Air Corps this year with their brand new C295. Which again, we've got quite a few C295s on static this year as well. I think we're getting a lot of transport, and the Irish EC135, which is meant to be in a special scheme, Pink Panther, I believe. If I remember correctly, I might have to go and check that up. Which is basically just one of their aircraft with a white tail and Pink Panther put on the back.
Nice.
Because the Irish. Another cool thing I'll let you talk about. We've been talking about warbirds from Sywell. We have a warbird in the flying display. Obviously, at the current stage, we are quite unknown what's going to be happening with the BBMF, and we are, as of recording, 2.5 weeks. Well, tomorrow would be the first arrival day in 2 weeks' time. So we don't know what's happening with the BBMF, but we have got a warbird. It is a Spitfire that will be joining the Canadian F-18 in what seems to be some form of heritage flight.
Now, interestingly, didn't they do this in Canada whilst the Typhoon display team was over at the Baggetville Airshow, and they
did.
They had the Typhoon, CF-18, and a Spitfire.
I hope they reciprocate it.
I think it'd be nice if they did. It'd be very cool to see that, because I think that'd be a really cool sight to see the two frontline fighters for the sort of respective nations. And everyone loves a Spitfire, don't they?
Because I got a question, not too sure if you guys can answer. Is the F-18 a 3rd gen or 4th gen fighter?
It's
a great question.
Is it not?
Is it maybe like the Typhoon, where they call it like a 4.5 gen?
It's going to be a 3.5 sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's one of the new ones with all the your angle of attack limits taken off, like the Finns and the Swiss, then I'd assume it'd be 4th gen. That'd be my guess. They've been heavily upgraded, but they're also replacing them with the F-35, aren't they? So,
Yeah. I was just going to say, because then potentially you're going to have 3 generations of aircraft.
we would, yeah. It's a good question. I do not know. I will go and try and very quickly find out while we're talking about them. But yeah, no, it's going to be really cool to see. In that, obviously, that amazing colour livery scheme that they have. And with the Spitfire, whether or not they replicate the Typhoon, I don't know. I would assume they would have said so if they were going to in this last update, which leads me to believe they probably wouldn't. But hey, RIAT surprised me.
I think this year RIAT have just pulled out some of these, some of these cards that we didn't even know that they had. And I think this is probably one of the best shows that they're going to have in quite a few years.
It's definitely going to be a RIAT to remember, especially with this F-16 Viper line. And I guess that can move me on to the US contingent, with the US adding 2 Vipers to the F-16 Viper line, which would take us up to, I think, is it 19 now? Let me just go
Yeah,
confirm that. Yeah,
19.
it is 19. But not F-16s that we expected. We're getting mainland US F-16s from the 93rd Fighter Wing.
Yeah, that's so. The last time the Makos were here was 2019, and they didn't come to RIAT. So that's going to be one of those really nice catches to see. Not only that they're coming to the UK, but they're going to be static, and we're going to see them nice and close.
If my brain remembers the statistics correctly, I think it may be the first time we've had mainland US F-16s on static at the Royal International Altitude since 2007 or 5, and I can't remember which date it is, but it's early 2000s since we've had mainland F-16s.
What should be 2006?
It could be. I'm not going to lie. I don't have the ability to go back and check, so we're going to go with it. But it is early 2000s, and
Whereabouts
I
in
mean,
America are these 16s from?
Homestead, so Florida.
yeah,
Oh,
Florida.
nice.
Quite a
So-
journey for them to make,
Yeah.
actually, for RIAT to be static. But
Well, are
big,
they?
big up.
But they've got good
Yeah,
good support for, haven't they?
Are
they
they
do.
coming? Are they coming with one of the other really rare aircraft? Well, they are rare now. Are they being towed
Yes.
over by
Yeah,
the
they are.
KC-10?
Thank you for the amazing link there, Jack. Yes, they are being apparently towed over by the KC-10, which there is 5 still in
3.
service.
3.
3 still in
3.
service. And we're getting one at RIAT on static. I know I've said this in previous podcasts. I know I keep saying that. How cool would it be to have one? But they actually did it. What?
RIAT, are you listening to our podcast?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
please, we're big fans. I mean,
If you want to come and chat to us, be
Reach
our
out to us.
guest.
Yeah, I mean, if you need ideas, you can
Oh,
I'm
bring
sure
the
we can. I'm sure we
the
can find them.
Blackbird, the F117,
Concorde.
Concorde,
Yeah.
Space Shuttle Atlantis would be good as well. That'd be nice.
I mean, the Vulcan.
Yeah, get a couple of those flying, get 3 of them.
But no,
No.
what a catch! I mean, big sexy, can't go wrong, can you? And to only have like one of the few remaining ones flying. Hopefully, it all goes well. Fingers crossed. Touch wood.
Yeah.
For it to get here with
No.
the 16s.
I mean, they've got what, 2 months of service left. I think they're all done by the end of September.
I say they
Yes.
can't have long, can they? So
And
it's impressive.
it's just, I remember talking to you guys and a couple of the other guys a couple of months ago, and there was like 15, and then it went down to 11, then it went to 10, then it went to 5, and now it's at 3. It's really starting to mark the end of an era for these tankers.
I think what would be nice is if, I don't know how possible, feasible it would be, if they even would be for it to be opened up to how some of the aircraft are opened up so you can go and have a look around them, because probably so many people there would have never have got to look inside a KC-10, myself included, and it'd be nice to see what the inside of one looks like before they all get destined for wherever their final resting place is.
I mean, I looked at Davis Monthan recently, and just seeing all the KC-10s there is just such a sad sight. They've been the forefront as a tanker for so many years, and they've done so many important missions. Whether that's been helping evacuate people, making sure that aircraft have got enough fuel to get them out of places, that aren't overly friendly, and just the continued support that they've given to not only the US but to any NATO country that have relied on them.
And we have as well at RIAT the full US tanker contingent. We have a KC-46 and a KC-135. And just speaking of aircraft that will be open from the US, the KC-10 unfortunately doesn't like it's being opened, but their C-17, which the US are bringing in, and their KC-46 will be open to the public for people to go on board, apparently, according to the RIAT update. So that'd be cool.
I
Very
wonder.
cool.
I wonder
Yeah.
if they're planning to park them all in a line. That'd be interesting.
They've said that they're going to park most of the US contingent on the west side, so that would be formerly known as green. Now they've changed to this new flag system. But yes, they are most of them parked in green. The only one that isn't is the C-17, which is available all 3 days as per the website. So that won't be parked in green. I assume that'll be in blue or
Are
red.
they going to get the F-16s? We're talking about this line that the F-16s are going to be in. Are they going to put it so it says "Farewell, Big Sexy" in front of the KC-10?
Spell it out. I mean, so who knows at this point? Because I mean, we haven't had. Well, we can say we haven't had all of the, um, air forces in Europe stuff, but there's potentially still more to come. I assume we haven't got any Lake and Heath stuff, and I'd assume we get that. It'd be sad to see that one of the either Spang or Aviano squadrons would not send an F-16 over for the anniversary since they're so close. So I'd expect probably something from them, but again, don't expect anything unless it's confirmed by RIAT. What else have we got on the list? Oh, another star item that just happens to be like completely and utterly is probably third on the list of the US stuff behind the F-16s and the KC-10 is an RC-135 rivet joint.
Is it the U model that's coming, or is it the V model? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
That's not going to be open, is it?
No.
It's not going to be open.
Oh, come on. Let us see it. We want to take photos. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, it's which.
It's a V. It's a V.
Is that the
Yeah.
training model?
I'm not
That's the
too
TC-135, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a V
think
model, yeah.
The V is just the regular one, but I mean, I think this is lovely. Okay, well, I'm quite lucky. Those who live nearby to Lake and Heath and Mildenhall or within like an hour's drive are quite lucky because we have them here at Mildenhall as a regular site, but they are still weirdly cool looking aircraft, and their missions have ultimately played a massive role over the past few years with everything going on conflicts wise over Europe and beyond. And to have this super interesting aircraft to be able to go up close and see how it's kind of been modified for its tasks and missions is ultimately a great catch for RIAT. And I think great to see that the USAF are willing to send one of them out there at such a busy time.
Can we ask for it to be parked next to the E3 from NATO, please?
What, the E3 that probably break?
Shh! It's not cancelled yet.
Shh. It now.
It's
You
fine.
stop-
Look, stop it. We're 2 and a bit weeks away, and it's still coming as of current. Shut up.
I saw it airborne. Was it the other day?
Oh god.
And I thought to myself, I wonder if they'll now like put it on the deck and give it 2 weeks of maintenance to make sure it flies.
They better do. It better turn up because I want to see that thing. Oh, I want to see that thing flying on the Wednesday, and then have it parked up. Because if they can park it next to the rivet joint as two sort of reconnaissance aircraft, that will be amazing. And obviously with them, well, the rivet joint is X'd for Friday, which probably means it'll arrive on the Friday. And I assume with obviously the E3's flying in on the Friday as well, they'll both be on West, so they'll both be in green. So is there a chance to park them next to each other? I mean,
There is a real chance, and I think with what's always nice about green is that you get some of these aircraft that you don't get to see very often come in on a Friday and land. And
yes.
it's for certain, for a lot of people, myself included, who haven't got departures day tickets, if you catch something like that on a Friday coming in, it's a really nice catch.
Well, it's like it was like in 2022 when we had the E4 and the Swedish historicals all turn up in the evening, wasn't it? And the
Yeah.
Swedish historicals both all did low approaches and went into full burner, which obviously back then we didn't have them in the mainland UK flying displays, and then the E4 turning up doing a low pass as well. It's like they're things that never be included in the flying display that can almost do an impromptu-ish flying display, I guess, um, which is just cool. And this year for RIAT, they've got a 3-hour window from 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. Where they are expecting arrivals. Apparently, it is literally on their new show hub thing, and it says that between 3 and 6 p.m. is another arrival slot. So
Have they got? Have we? I now correct me if I'm wrong. Have we got a clipper coming?
we got a clipper.
C21, is that the Clipper?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I think that's a really nice addition.
I'm trying to think the last time we probably had one, if I'm being completely honest. I'll go and do a bit of digging. Give me a second.
I think regarding like these aircraft, so like the RC-135, the the E3, when we had the E4, it was it's always one of those aircraft where you don't believe it's going to come until you lay your Mark 1 eyeball on it.
Yeah,
There's so much that can happen real world where you know the aircraft might have to go into operation and actually do what it's designed to do, and
yeah,
until you see the thing either on the ground or you can physically see it in the air, that there's always a chance that they may not come.
yeah. And last time we had a C21, according to my spreadsheet, is 2017. So
Okay.
it's been a while. But I think if I missed anything else off the US list, an MC-130J from Mildenhall as well. I think that is everything. I think we've got everything. Oh, we've missed 2 RAF heavies, an A400 and a Voyager as well. It's heavy central this year. It's brilliant.
Now, one thing I did see on the UCAR forums, I haven't fact checked it, but I trust that the guy's done his maths right. If there is a Turkish tanker bringing the solo Turk over,
Hmm.
there'll be more tankers on static, and if it comes onto the static park as well, there'll be more tankers in the static park this year than there was for the Sky Tanker theme, which is interesting as well.
That is, yeah. I didn't
So
think
I
about
think
that.
I think if I remember, a few days ago I saw it now, but I think they said there's 7 tankers on static at the minute. So if that Turkish one did pop over on static, there'd be 8. I think there
Yes,
were
we had
7.
6. We had 6 in last year. So because we were going to have 7, but the KC-46 cancelled. So wow, that would be interesting if that turns out to be the case. Well, there is talk of the Turkish KC-135 on static. They have said it in one of the previous updates. That they where is it? I'm going to go find it now.
Because the last time we had Solo Turk at RIAT, didn't they park the tanker north side?
They did, yes. So it says in the update the current aspiration is that the Turkish KC-135 will join the static display over the weekend. So they are clearly trying to get the Turkish to go, come on, just put it on static. Come on. Come on. Just drop it in there. It's fine. Which, again,
But you're here already, right?
because they did. They parked it on the north side. Like, why not just chuck it into static? Why not? So, yeah, no, it's one of.
Something that I love about Fridays at RIAT is obviously for a lot of them it's validation days,
Yes.
and they're sometimes the best days because I don't condone it, but that's the days where they're slightly naughty.
Greek F-16 a couple of years ago, by any chance?
Solo Turk a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
it's one of those days where they know it's an air show, but they kind of don't treat it like it. It's like, how far can we push the boundary before we get in trouble?
well, I think also things to note of as well is that we haven't got a NATO fly past as of currently, um, which I assume, and this is where my brain starts doing a little bit of its thinking, it will only be on the Friday this year is what it sounds like. Because
Do you think it might?
when we had
Do you
the
think it might be in
E3,
that 3 hour window?
see, I was thinking that sort of thing right at the end at 3 p.m. If we get, because the E3 is meant to be doing a fly past and landing, so and a lot of those US heavy stuff, so the KC-46, the KC-10, all of them are meant to be not available to see until the Saturday Sunday. Could they like have the KC-10 with the two Macos F-16s on each wing fly over, land, and then be on Saturday display for the Friday as part of a NATO fly past? Is that something? We will. Time will tell. We've got two and a bit weeks. But what is going to happen with this, we don't know. And I think there's so many ifs, buts, and maybes of no one really knows what's going to happen. We haven't been told anything that's flying on Friday yet, bar a couple of things. So I think this week's update is going to be pretty informative with what's flying on Friday. Hopefully a NATO fly past of some sorts, and maybe some more US stuff. But I think that's it, isn't it? On the ongoing list now, we've got US Navy and Strategic Global Strike Command, whatever they're called, left.
I think one of the things that's really showing about RIAT this year is the fact that both the Friday and the Saturday are both sold out.
Yes,
So
already.
as we record this, the only tickets available are for Sunday, and I think that I don't think it's. I know they've sold out obviously in the past, but it tends to be a bit closer to the days as opposed to, was it about a month out it was when the Saturday sold out. So I think it really shows that there's a lot of support, a lot of hype around this year's RIAT, and it's good to see.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
also really intrigued to see how they're going to park all these heavies as well. That's why I'm intrigued.
I just can't wait. Like, it's that feeling of when you like drive sort of past or drive near
And you just see the
and you sort of
tails.
see the tails, especially with there being like, 5 C-17 tails, plus what, an A400 tail, plus all of that. The big ones that tower up above everything.
It's
I
going
don't
to
know.
look
It's
so
gonna be
good.
cool. It is.
I'm
It's gonna
excited
be
already.
I
And
think
I'm only doing one day, so.
I think as well with what you said, Matt, about all the parking. You've got the you got 5 C-17s on the deck. You got all of these tankers. You've also got to equate 20 plus F-16s. We know Fairford's big, but when you start like trying to even comprehend mapping it out, it's like, have we got enough space?
Would you like me to read the list of heavies off? Just that we get the idea of how many. We have 19 currently on the ground, and that's not including Canadian ones. So we have an A2E3, Jordanian C-130, a Qatar and NATO C-17, a KC-390 from Portugal, a C-130 from Poland, a P-8 from the UK, a C-130 from Norway, an A330 from Saudi, a Voyager, an A400, an RC-135 from Turkey potentially, all of the US stuff we've just listed, a C-17 from Canada, a C-150 from Canada, a C-130 from Canada. So that makes 22. That's just heavy stuff. That's not including like the 4 C-27s we have and half the C-295s and whatnot.
It's an impressive list. It really is.
I just look at that. It's like, wow, this year's gonna be good to react.
Yeah,
And that's not including all the fast jets and everything.
It really is. We've all said it. We're all looking forward to this air show, and it's going to be an absolute show to remember.
I'm worried about my memory cards. I think I'm going to need more of them. I think I'm going to need a lot more of them. I managed to snag a departure day ticket as well, so I'm there from Friday till Monday for my very first time, ladies and gents. This is going to be my first RIAT, so
and we're not going to hear the end of it.
No, I feel like I'm going to be exhausted and I'm not going to be prepared for it at all. But I'm very excited. Yeah,
it's a fatiguing couple of days. I mean, if you walk up and down the static line, I think, is it nearly 2 miles long each way?
Yeah,
it's 2.5 kilometers each, so just one way. So if you walk it twice, you're working 5
3
kilometers.
miles.
3
so,
miles.
I mean, you know me. I'm going to be looking for all the patches and the stalls and everything. So it's going to be,
Just
my feet are going to feel it.
Make sure you wear shoes that are comfortable, and have got some give in them, because your joints will thank me later for it.
Well, I think that is a a nice
Have we
place
got,
probably to leave this podcast, unless you've got something to say, Jack.
I was going to say, have we got any air shows this weekend that are coming up? I know you got Timoth.
South End's in a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've
There's
got
one at Lake
some.
and Heath every day, you know. I mean,
Oh, don't start this now.
hey.
I mean, just today, Timoth today have obviously announced for their air show that the Lancaster won't be participating after after what happened a couple of weeks ago. And we're all hoping soon that we may get BBMF back in some sort of way or form, and there's some really good signs at Coningsby for the fact that they are ground running them. So hopefully, we may get lucky at RIAT, but again, safety's paramount for the aircrew.
I think this close now. I think it's. I think it'd probably be announced this week. I think whether or not they think they get him, because you've got to think they can't leave it much longer than a week, because they've got to basically prepare up the displays all again. And the Lancaster didn't even do its PDA, did it? It wasn't up airborne in time before everything was grounded. So
I
I
mean,
just think
the only thing that would be nice if they weren't if they're not allowed to display it in a configuration, it would be nice if they could bring it just for static, just so that people can get a
absolutely
little bit closer
yes,
to it.
I'd agree 100%. Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a few more this weekend as well. The Battle of Britain Air Show at Headcorn down in Kent, and they've got quite a decent lineup. It seems they've got obviously Warbirds galore, given it's a Battle of Britain Air Show, Red Arrows, and also some Dakotas doing parachute drops on all 3 days. That'd be
That's
quite
cool.
nice. And also the Wales Air Show down in Swansea as well.
Yes, that's this weekend, wasn't it?
So another nice free air show on the beach. So hopefully, if the weather's nice, it will be a well attended one. I think they've got the Red Arrows too, maybe.
I thought the Red Arrows are everywhere at the moment.
They're doing
I mean,
everything.
you got the
Red
Reds down at
Arrows.
Teignmouth, the Typhoon are at Teignmouth.
That's a nice lineup for the Wales one. Red Arrows, Typhoon, Team Raven, Wildcat, Grob Tutor, Gazelle Squadron, Swordfish, and the Wasp. Oh,
That's not bad, that.
and the Yak 50.
That's not bad at all.
That's decent.
Yeah.
So
A good weekend for
down
air
at Teignmouth, they got 1300. They got the Reds. 1400. They got the Gazelle Squadron. 1430. They got Team Raven. 3:15 is the Jubilee Pits. 4:15 is the Starlings, and then closing the show at 5:15 is the Typhoon.
So again, another well lined up. This is a good weekend then. RF can be busy with all their displays. Yeah, I think we're now in the middle. Once RIAT's over, I think we're nearly done with the airshow season. I think we're halfway through it already, and it's feel like it was not even started. I think it's weird, but yeah. Thank you for listening to the 13th episode of the Airshow Lounge podcast. Hopefully, we're going to try and get a preview in before RIAT, just to go over everything, because I think some things that we talked about 3 months ago have been forgotten. Like, does anyone still remember we've got Turkish F4s coming?
Huh? What we do?
What? When?
So, like, the amount of stuff that just keeps being on top and top and top and top of things, like, we'll do some sort of preview. I think is probably a good idea, and try and get that out before RIAT. And yeah, airshows galore for the next couple of weeks. That has been the Airshow Lounge podcast. You can find us on social media on both Facebook and Instagram if you just type in the Airshow Lounge podcast, and you can find and join the chat on all of the airshow stuff that goes on there. I've been Dan. Joining me today has been Jack, Matt, and Alex. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.
See ya.